Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Pittsburgh Sports Memories Podcast. My name is Tim Hannon, and with me, as always,
Steve Wirt.
and this is the intro to our episode about Pittsburgh Sports TV intros. Very meta.
I feel like I'm looking in a mirror where like it just goes into infinity. Intro to the intro.
So we wanted to do something a little different for this episode. I think most of us have experienced sports through the television. Yeah, we've all been to games, and some of us have been to a lot of games, but still the large majority of the time we have spent following our favorite Pittsburgh sports teams has been via television. And a big part of watching sports on TV is the intros. They come on with the theme music or the voiceovers and the shots of the city, all the stuff that gets you ready to watch this big game. And I think, in my opinion, sports intros are just as iconic sometimes as like sitcom intros or any other TV intro. So we're going to talk about and play for you some great Pittsburgh sports intros from years past. And before we get started, I want to give a special shout out to listener and friend of mine, Jason, who's kind of a sports intro aficionado and gave me some good input for this episode. So we're going to jump in with some Steelers game intros from throughout the years, and we're going to kick it off with a CBS intro from 1977. And Steve, see if you recognize the interesting musical choice that CBS was using for its game intros at this time. I think you'll find that it's a familiar little tune.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Three Rivers, the Allegheny, and the Monongahela. They come together to form the Ohio. As you look now at downtown Pittsburgh, the Golden Triangle, and it's the site today of the Dallas Cowboys against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, we're only 5-4. Oh my goodness. We'll never beat the Cowboys. Yes, this is obviously the Star Wars theme, but not only is it the Star Wars theme, Tim, it is the disco version of the Star Wars theme, which I do believe they replay the Casey Kasem top hits of the 70s and 80s on our local radio station. And this was up there in the top 10, believe it or not. This was a top 10 charting song.
You're kidding.
This guy, I guess this guy would do this, like he would take like the Star Wars theme, and then he took Beethoven. You ever heard a fifth of Beethoven?
Yeah.
Same kind of deal. Like they just put it to disco music.
Oh.
They did that well into the early 80s. So.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Fun
Yeah,
times.
I didn't even know that existed. You obviously knew that existed, but I certainly didn't know that they were using it as like the intro music for CBS football games.
It is very. What year was this? 77?
77. Yeah.
It sounds about right.
Yeah, I think that was.
So when did Star Wars come out? 77?
It was that year. A New Hope
so,
came out in 77. So
like August or July, wasn't it? It was a summer.
It was a summer movie. So yes,
maybe May. It might have been May. Yeah.
Very timely, I suppose.
Yeah.
So
because it fall 5-4. This is halfway into the season, so this is like October, November. So
yeah, good point. Yeah. So that was the 70s. By the time the 1980s rolls around, the Steelers stink, but the intros are better. Here's one that we actually played once before. This is an intro to a 1985 Steelers-Browns game on NBC, and I always loved this one as a kid. I thought it sounded very regal.
The National Broadcasting Company is proud to be the network of Super Bowl 20. Today, from Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, it's the Cleveland Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Just the way that they like.
Well, I like that they don't say NBC; they say the National
Yes.
Broadcasting Company, and then the National Football League.
Right,
It's like-
right. It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like the way that they formally announced, and it wasn't Pittsburgh. It was Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
United States of America.
It was like ceremonial. You know what I mean?
Yes. There was. I think that's their own song. That I don't recognize that song from anything else. So I imagine this was probably written for NBC by somebody.
It may have been. It's a piece. I can look up the name of it because I do have it somewhere else. But it's a piece. They actually used it in NFL films also. If you go watch the Super Bowl film for Super Bowl 17, which was the Redskins and the Dolphins, you'll hear it in there as well. I think it's called like "Send Them Victorious" or something like that.
Oh, that sounds like a NFL film. Well, you can actually buy the NFL film soundtrack if you really want to.
You can find a lot of it on YouTube as well. So NBC's opening was very regal, but back in those days, the really big game of the week was Monday Night Football, or as Frank Gifford used to call it, Monday Night Football.
I feel a country music legend coming on.
And so back then, that was like the game of the week. Remember, and you had to be a really good team to be on Monday Night Football. So for most of the 80s, the Steelers weren't on. They were only playing on Sundays.
You got to remember back then we're talking like, what year are we getting this theme from? 70s, or are we going with, because it changed over the years?
Yes, we're actually going to, yeah. So where I was going with that is the Steelers weren't really on in the 80s, so we're going to jump into the 90s here when the Steelers are getting good again, and they do make it on Monday Night Football.
Well, when did Monday Night Football start? Like 70s? It started like late 70s, right?
I think it was 1970, actually.
Yeah. So they were probably on some in the 70s. But like even till 1990, there were like cable was coming in, but there really was only 3 or 4 channels. And the game that was on, like if you wanted to watch an NFL game, the most you could do was watch the 1:00 game probably, and maybe a 4. I don't know. Did they even televise a 4:00 game back in the 80s? I guess maybe. And then that was it. That was it. You would get maybe 2 games, maybe 3 with the one on Monday night. And so the third game would be the Monday night. I don't know if they had Sunday night. So it wasn't like now where there's just like, it seems like there's 6 games a week.
You're right. And there's times where like pick a good team from back then, like the 49ers. The only time you would see them, is Monday Night Football or the playoffs.
I'm not going to see Joe Montana actually play until,
Yep.
They play
so,
Monday night.
Yep. So that was a big deal. And when we get into the 90s, the way that they would open Monday Night Football is they would have some celebrity or some other person ask us a very important question. Steve, do you remember what that question was?
I think, am I ready for a sport?
Yes.
That may be playing tonight.
Yes, they would just make sure, just in case.
Am I ready for Tuesday night volleyball?
And you better be ready because it's coming no matter what. But they'd have the courtesy to at least ask. So here's the Steelers Monday Night Football opening, featuring the crew of the Space Shuttle Endeavour.
Houston, Endeavour.
Go ahead, Endeavour.
We're ready here on orbit. Are you ready for some football?
The Pittsburgh Steelers, named for the industry that was this city's lifeblood. Throughout the franchise's history, especially during their Steel Curtain dynasty of the 1970s, ferocious defense has been their trademark.
Then there's there's a little game preview. Of course, like this was like, 1990? So like there wasn't a steel mill to be found in Pittsburgh by that point. So
yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that because we're going to come back to that later. That was a big deal back then. Like all the time. So what you can't see there's like a steel worker with a big hammer and there's like a blast furnace, and that was just very typical for years that was the way that Pittsburgh was portrayed on a national level, even into the 90s when, there weren't any steel mills anymore. So that was very common. But so they do the little game intro. And then of course at the end of that, you had the 2 helmets crashing into each other, and then Hank Williams would come on to sing this theme song.
The hammer drops tonight as the Houston Oilers face the Pittsburgh Steelers on ABC's Monday Night Football. Well, it's Monday night and we're ready to all the hits, the bangs, and the flops. Two division rivals are gonna meet here. The Oilers and the Steelers are in full gear. We gotta
Barry
get
Foster.
ready. We gotta get right. Monday night football's coming on tonight.
I think that was the Commander too.
Yeah, we could have had that for our Oilers episode. I love too that you can just picture Hank Williams recording that song, and then like they're like, okay, we got a good cut of that, and then they have to spend like the next 10 minutes just recording these little dubbing sessions where he does the teams. It's like the Steelers and the Oilers, the Seahawks and the Raiders, the Dolphins and the Cowboys.
Yeah, and he's a Steeler fan, so there you go.
Is he?
Yes, Hank Williams Jr. I don't know why he's a Steeler fan, but he is.
Because it makes perfect sense for him to be one. That's why.
Okay.
Everybody should be a Steeler fan.
I mean, he's from like Nashville or something, isn't he? I don't know. Sure.
Hey, whatever. We welcome him in. Welcome him in. So Steve already referenced this, the fact that for years and years, it was always, steel mills and blast furnace. And, it was such an outdated view of Pittsburgh. So here's a NBC opening from 1995, which is refreshing as it makes reference to the city Pittsburgh is now rather than the city it was years ago. Take a listen.
Just the Steel City, now high-tech Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And where the Allegheny meets the Monongahela to form the Ohio, sits Three Rivers Stadium, home of the Pittsburgh Steelers. The stadium sold out today as the Steelers host the New England Patriots.
Is this the game where this isn't the Drew Bledsoe, where they stuffed Drew Bledsoe at the end of the game, was it?
It is not. But, man, that music, that intro music they had back then, every time I hear that, I'm like instantly transported back to that, like Rod Woodson, Greg Lloyd, Yancey Thigpen, Bill Cowher early years era.
Hey, did you see in the little they had a little montage of like generic NFL clips? Did you see like Bill Belichick hugging someone in a brown? He was like in his Browns gear. It's like, wow, I didn't know Bill Belichick actually did that, even way back when in Cleveland.
Yeah, we'll post a link to the video of that because it's perfect for the era. It's like Junior Seau, Bill Belichick in a Browns jacket. I think Marino's in there. It's just totally the players of the era. And that music, Steve, the composer for that was Randy Edelman. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he did a lot of movie soundtracks. And two of the Randy Edelman movie soundtracks that I love are from the movies Gettysburg and Dragonheart.
Okay.
Dragonheart especially. Dragonheart, I feel like, has the biggest ratio of quality of the movie, quality of the soundtrack, because it's a terrible movie. But the soundtrack.
I don't remember who was that. What year was that? Gee, I don't remember if I ever watched Dragonheart.
96, 97, maybe somewhere around that. It was
the
about
Dragon movie with Christian. No, that was Reign of Fire.
No, it was the Dragon movie where Sean Connery was the voice of the dragon.
Oh wow!
And Randy
Quaid talks.
Yeah, the dragon talks to.
Is it animated?
Not Randy Quaid, Dennis Quaid.
Wrong Quaid.
Wrong Quaid. No, it was not animated.
Not animated.
Yeah.
A non-animated dragon talking.
Yeah. With a Sean Connery voice.
Well, that sounds ridiculous. You can never get away with this, Goldfinger.
So, like I said, great soundtrack. Check out the soundtrack. You'd probably recognize the music because it's been used on a bunch of other, movie trailers and stuff like that. But that era also had something that I don't think you see anymore today, where there would often be this kind of like theatrical prelude for a game that would set the stage, especially if it was like a big game. And I feel like that's gone now. I feel like when you turn on a football game, or really any sporting event, they just kind of cut to the game without much of a setup. And
it's because the pre-games are like anymore, like an hour and a half. Like by the time you get to the game, there's not really an intro and reason to do an intro. It's, they go right to the kickoff and they'll be like, welcome to Pittsburgh. It's, 56 and cloudy. And, they don't do like these official interviews where it's like the Steelers at 4-0 play the Patriots at 4-0 or something.
Yeah, that's actually a good point. They do. There is a lot of pregame now, especially when you get into like a bigger game, like a playoff game or something.
Yeah, they're not just gonna, in the old days, they would just go right to the game like 5 minutes before the game starts.
Yeah.
That's why it's impossible to find when a game starts. Like you just can't, if a game is scheduled to start at 1:00, you might as well tune in at like 1:10 because the game starts.
Yeah, that's true.
Especially college football is the bigger offender on that one.
That's true. Well, here's an example of one of those, again, like theatrical preludes. This is the opening to the 1995 AFC Championship game, where the Steelers, of course, had fallen short the year before and had spent the whole season battling back from a 3-4 record, and they had that 3 more yards mantra. We, of course, did a whole episode about that season. But listen to this setup for that game, courtesy of the legendary Dick Enberg.
The Steelers prefer to forget last season's disastrous title game, but that's impossible. Imagine the number of times quarterback Neil O'Donnell has had to quietly endure the 4th and 3 to the Super Bowl replay. Consider how many times Greg Lloyd has suffered the mental images of the failed coverage that put the Steelers behind to stay. Imagine fiery coach Bill Cowher politely listening to the endless queries of well-meaning fans seeking what happened. What must it have been like to sit watching last year's Super Bowl, knowing you fell a mere 3 yards shy of center stage? Were last season's Steelers overconfident, unfocused, unprepared? They've given their failures plenty of thought. From Pittsburgh, it's the AFC Championship.
Boy, I hope they don't lose after all that.
Well, at least you spared us, because I just remember them worshiping the Colts in that game. You cut out the part with the Colts where and Jim Harbaugh, Captain Comeback. I might have put my fist through my computer screen if I had to hear that 30 years later.
That was the storyline for that game, though, was the upstart Colts, and then the Steelers, just like the year before, are heavy favorites going into this championship game, and could they redeem themselves? It again, like that set up the whole storyline. It's kind of like, Steve, remember when we did the episode on Super Bowl 14 and we were playing the NFL Films clips and we talked about how it wasn't just a game, it was like a 3-act play, and that's I feel like that's what these old openings used to do. They used to just set up like, here's the story, and I don't know, like you said, they don't do that anymore because they have those big pre-games. I also wonder if like the 24/7 football coverage just makes that kind of stuff redundant. You know what I mean? Like
well, that was actually very well done and artistic by there were little shots of like Neil looking sad and Greg Lloyd looking upset.
Greg Lloyd shaking his head in disbelief and
yeah. So it was very well done. Like it's a lost art almost, and
it is. Like
you said, it's with the 24 new. Like if you don't know what's at stake here, and the game's been already hyped so much, it's almost like overkill.
Yeah.
It is overkill, I guess. Especially with the Super Bowl. Like you said, the bigger games gets to too much. It's like let's play the game.
Yeah. I still miss those openings though. So
that was very well done. I was surprised. But it definitely would have annoyed, but it's to hook you, to get you into the game and what's at stake, and it's very effective at that.
For sure. Also in the 1990s, Fox got the NFL. And that was controversial at the time because people didn't consider Fox like a real network. But I think they surprised everyone. And one of the many things that people liked about their broadcasts was their theme music, which I believe is the same theme music they still use today.
They haven't changed it.
So here is a vintage Pat Summerall, John Madden Fox opening. And as a bonus, just for you, Steve, your all-time favorite non-Steeler player is talked about here. So check it out.
Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. The Cowboys in town to play the Steelers. The atmosphere is electric. A perfect day in Pittsburgh. The cast of characters is all set. Deion Sanders is apparently healthy. Will open at cornerback for the Cowboys defense. And Cordell Stewart, wearing a knee brace, will start at quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pat Summerall here again with John Madden.
I think we lost that game, didn't we?
We did. Probably because Deion was just so dominant.
Yeah. He was pretty there at the tail end of his career there in 97.
I know that's your favorite player, so I thought you'd appreciate that.
Yeah. They did that just to annoy me. No Cletus, though, yet. Cletus, the robot.
Oh, is that the robot's name? I didn't know the robot had a name.
34. Where's Walter Payton's number?
Oh, okay.
It's called Cletus.
Yeah, no robot yet. They just kind of had like a mechanical, like thing going, but no robot, unfortunately.
Cletus, the slack-jaw yokel, might have been just as... Simpsons fame.
When Fox got the contract, it was for the NFC games that they'd kind of stolen away from CBS. And a few years later, CBS comes back as the broadcaster of the AFC games. So that's where most of the Steeler games are still televised to this day. Here's a CBS intro for the 2004 Steeler playoff game against the Jets.
It's got to be on fire. Is there fire?
Yeah, it's CBS had a lot of fire graphics in their openings in those years. Yes, and this is another good kind of setup for the game intro. This was Ben's rookie season, Steve, one of your favorite seasons, I know. And this is one of, again, the last of these kind of like theatrical preludes that we talked about. You don't really see this a whole lot today, as we already said.
Today, the Jets face the best record in football, these Steelers. In Pittsburgh, where they've yet to lose this season. Don't lose it all! Don't lose it all! 1, 2, 3, dominate! And dominate they have, led by a ferocious defense and the timing of Big Ben, their surprising and undefeated first-year quarterback. Today, the rookie will endeavor to keep alive the Steelers' drive for 5. That long quest for a 5th ring, one for the thumb. Will history smile on the Steelers' side? Or will the Jets author a second straight playoff road upset? Potential heroes in this 4-quarter drama. Who will write tomorrow's headline?
Vince Lombardi. Winning the championship.
The playoffs, win or go home. The playoffs.
Let's do or die. It wouldn't matter if I had to play 20 years to win a Super Bowl. That's my goal.
On fire! It's on fire! No!
CBS graphic is completely burned up at this point. Curtis Martin, by the way, did not play 20 years and did not win a Super Bowl, sadly for him.
He played in a Super Bowl and had pretty good stats.
Yeah.
But that was way back like 10 years before this game.
It was. So unfortunate for him. Not being sarcastic this time, one of our favorite non-Steeler players. But
this is the infamous, what's his name?
Doug Bryan missed the field goal. 2 field goals.
Two field goals, yes.
Yep.
And was put on eBay for 3 cents after that.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that. But that's the same theme music that CBS still uses today, and it's good. It's got like a nice like intense beat to it. It feels like football.
Orchestral, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, didn't somebody use the Hall of the Mountain King, or somebody use that dun 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 dun? Somebody used that. I remember at one point.
Yeah. I just know that's the theme music CBS uses today. But do you remember, Steve, that at one point CBS says, nope, that music is not good enough. You know what it needs? It needs lyrics.
Oh,
here's an intro
wow.
from a Steelers game from 2005.
Lyrics. Okay.
One ride, one team, one heart, one player through the hole, one goal from the start. Dominate the art of the black and blue. And watch the Super Bowl dreams till they all come true.
Yeah, there's a whole song. I'm not going to play the
lyrics.
whole thing.
Can I Google lyrics to the CBS intro song?
You can. I'm sure you can find it. That doesn't last too long, and CBS goes back to just the music for the intro. So before we leave the Steelers portion of this segment, one last thing. We played a bunch of national TV intros, but no local ones because, of course, the games aren't televised by local stations. They're televised by the national networks.
Well, except for preseason.
The only games that air on local stations are, like Steve said, preseason games. So just for good measure, here is a local preseason game opening from back in 1988. Steve, see if you can count how many things in here no longer exist.
Steelers 88. Brought to you by the Bell of Pennsylvania Yellow Pages. The one
I
that
got
works.
that.
By Pittsburgh National Bank. The bank that's built on pride and performance. And by McDonald's. Good time, great taste. That's why McDonald's is my place.
Live from RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C., it's Pittsburgh Steelers preseason football. Tonight, the Steelers open the preseason against the Super Bowl champion Washington Redskins. Hello again, everybody. I'm Stan Savran. Welcome to Pittsburgh Steelers preseason football.
Nice. Savran and Jack Ham. Wow.
Yeah.
About the big guns.
Yep.
And, of course, you know, I was looking for my Pittsburgh National Bank, so I looked at my Yellow Pages, and I found one immediately.
Yes.
I went to my Yellow Pages, I looked up my national, and then I was like, where's the McDonald's? And I kept flipping to fast food, and I found that too.
You drove to RFK Stadium?
Yes.
To watch the Washington Redskins?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Stan Savran was there, which.
Stan Savran sadly no longer with us anymore either. So, yep, lots of things that don't exist anymore, including the concept of the Washington team being the defending Super Bowl champions. That's way out.
They would win the Super Bowl like at least once more after that, I think.
They would, but that was still a long time ago. When they long time ago that they even got within a hair of it. So, that's football. Let's go to baseball. And when I was a kid, Steve, when we were both kids, I feel like baseball was always very like romanticized. I think you saw that in like the Ken Burns documentary. I think you saw that in a lot of other places. And CBS did that a lot too. CBS gets the Major League Baseball contract in 1990, and that was the year that the Pirates got really good. So I remember a lot of their games being on CBS, big games. Now, if a Pirates game was on CBS, the first thing that came on was this bumper with this big booming voice that always made me feel like something important was about to come on.
It's the Pirates.
Coming up next from CBS Sports, the National League Championship Series.
The National League Championship Series.
Yeah, it seems like, and we've just landed on the moon, by the way.
Yeah, right.
President Kennedy has been shot. Now on to baseball.
Yeah, like if that was a newspaper headline, it would be like in the big bold font, And then CBS had this theme music that I got to be honest, to this day still gives me chills. Every time I hear it, I'm like instantly transported back to a summer night in my childhood home on Churchill Road in Wilkins Township, watching baseball with my family. And the clip I'm going to play here is from Game 7 of the 1991 NLCS. That is not the Sid Bream game. That's the year before. God. That's the year before where the Pirates and Braves were playing in Game 7 at Pittsburgh, and the Pirates,
and they just got blown out.
Yeah, they lost, just not in dramatic fashion. But anyway, here's the immortal Jack Buck setting the stage for the season, all coming down to one game against the background of that CBS music. And if you want to talk about a dramatic prelude to a game, in my mind, it just doesn't get any better than this.
How can a baseball team play so well for so long and still not be in the World Series? 168 games without a payoff. What more do they have to do? Mid-February until mid-October. All the trips, taxis, hotels and restaurants. Away from the family. Victories and defeats. Doubleheaders. Hot streaks and slumps. Injuries. Sweltering days. And cold nights. Can it really be true that the season will be over tonight for either the Pirates or the Braves? Lose one game and collect only heartaches. Win only one more game and be in the World Series. That's the way it is tonight in Pittsburgh.
Nice.
Yeah, I just thought that was man, it's just like such a poetic, dramatic, setup for a game. It's like, gosh, it really just made you feel like the gravity of what a big deal that was. Like the whole season comes down to this one game. And of course the Pirates lost, so that part's not as fun. So that's the Pirates on a national level. We'll talk more about the Pirates on a local level later, but first I want to pivot to hockey. And of course, the NHL, being a poorly run league, has kind of floated around the different networks. Remember, Steve, when they were on the Hunting Network or whatever, Outdoor Life was, I think it was called.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when they first came out of the lockout.
Yeah.
It was like, now here's how you hook a beauty, a bass. and it was like,
and coming up next, the Eastern
Capitals and the
Finals.
Senators.
Yeah. The NHL is currently on ESPN, which is what they were on back when the Penguins had those great 1990s teams. So here's a 1990s era ESPN intro that I think a lot of people will remember, especially because of the music.
For the past 25 years, Mr. Rogers has called this his neighborhood. He may have to do some sharing with 66 Mario Lemieux. From Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and the Igloo, ESPN's National Hockey Night, the New Jersey Devils, and the Pittsburgh Penguins.
Nice. That's a great intro.
Yeah.
And, what they won? No, they did not win that game. It's at home, huh? Game 2 of the
Probably
not. Yeah. Wow, that was I think ESPN still uses the same music that they
did. Back. They brought that. They recomposed it. They had the guy recompose it.
It's similar, yeah. It's the
same theme, yeah. Yeah, and so that was always like a big deal. Penguins had these big games on ESPN, but of course, the large majority of Penguin games back then was on this network.
Look out, Loretta. The boys of winter are back on KVL. It's the New Jersey Devils taking on the Pens, live and exclusively Sunday night at 7:30 on the KVL Penguin Network.
Yeah, who doesn't? But that wasn't the Penguin song, though, or the Penguin on steroids.
No, that was the KBL. Like,
yeah.
I think they had a very similar commercial like that, only they substituted the Pirates. So KBL was a cable channel that started in the 80s.
It's AT&T Sports or Root Sports or Pirate Sport, Pittsburgh Sports. It's the same network. It's just changed names 10 times.
Well, yeah, they televised Penguins and Pirates games. It became, after it was KBL, it became Prime Sports, then FSN, then Root Sports.
Here we go.
Then AT&T Sportsnet. Now that they're owned by the Fenway Sports Group, I believe now it's just called Sportsnet Pittsburgh. Is that right?
That sounds right, yeah. I don't get it, so I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either anymore because of my subscription package that I have. But it was a cable station that televised pretty much all the Penguins and Pirates games, and you really couldn't see those previously. So it was a big deal at the time. And they've been the main home of the Penguins for quite a while now. So let's play some old school KBL intros, starting with this one from the 1980s with the theme music, Steve, that I think you were expecting.
Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome in, everybody, to Gambling with Good Juju, where we're tackling one topic at a time in the world of sports and casino gambling. I'm Breezy, and along with my co-host Juice, heyo, and Jolly,
hey, good looking,
we're bringing on guests every episode to help gamblers better understand the industry and maximize their estimated entertainment value along the way. Join us for the ride as we offer a fresh take in the world of sports and casino gambling with a dash of good juju. Give us a follow. We can be found on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get podcasts. Just search for Gambling with Good Juju.
Gambling with Good Juju.
Uh-oh, here it comes. Ah, yeah, there it is.
Pittsburgh Penguin Hockey is sponsored by IC Light, dedicated to the preservation of the wildlife, and by Iron City Beer. You can't keep an Iron Man down.
Steve, you can't keep an Iron Man down. That's actually a
No.
scientifically proven fact.
That's what I hear. I hear it's very difficult to do that.
Have you ever tried to keep an Iron Man down? It's just not
No,
possible.
no. I tried for 30 seconds once, and I said, "All right, you gotta let this guy go.
Yeah, you had to give up because you can't do it.
You gotta let him have his Iron City." Now, if you can take away his Iron City, then you're golden. You can keep him down forever. But
They're the heart, they're the soul, they're the backbone of this town, Steve.
that's what I hear.
A little history on that Penguins theme music. In 1983, Paul Staggerwald, who at the time was working for the Penguins, came up with this marketing gimmick called Boys of Winter. And that was all their commercials and ticket ads that year. Come see the Boys of Winter. And you even heard it in the KBL ad. Mike Lang said, come, the Boys of Winter on KBL. But they needed theme music to go with it. So Staggerwald's boss at the Penguins, Tom Rooney, he goes to the Needle Drop Corporation, which was an agency that specialized in providing instrumental music for TV and radio ads. And Needle Drop just has a bunch of music tracks that you can pick from. They just have dozens of production music tracks. Hey, you can just pick one to use. And Tom Rooney picks that one you just heard, but not for the Penguins, Steve. He picks it for the Pittsburgh Maulers.
Nice.
So I guess he and Staggerwald decide it sounds more like hockey music, and they only used it in one Maulers commercial, so they make it the Pens theme. And now today it's like the beloved and iconic piece of Pittsburgh music. But I'd love to find the Maulers commercial that has that tune in it.
Yeah.
That would be interesting to hear.
I don't know. I haven't heard them play it. Do they still play it? I haven't heard them play it in a while.
They play it at games, although it's a much more modern version of it. Yeah. So we'll hear it again here. Here's an intro from the Stanley Cup years of the 90s with that Boys of Winter theme having been recomposed to sound a little more dramatic and instrumental. Also, the Pittsburgh Brewing Company has changed its slogan by now.
Pittsburgh Penguin Hockey is sponsored by the Pittsburgh Brewing Company. It's a Berg thing. By Mellon Bank. You're why we do our very best. By the new Dodge. For a great deal, see your local Dodge dealer today. By Crystal Pepsi. You've never seen a taste like this.
Crystal Pepsi, Steve.
I'm looking at my yellow pages right now for you.
I think they discontinued that pretty quickly, didn't they? I don't remember that lasting.
I get some down at Mellon Bank.
Yeah.
I think they brought it back as a nostalgia thing a couple years ago, just short-term release.
Okay.
It's not as popular as Baja Blast, that Mountain Dew flavor. People love that stuff. But
interesting.
Speaking of Gen Z, that their Crystal Pepsi is Baja Blast. If we're gonna play SAT questions, I guess.
I don't think I ever had Crystal Pepsi or Baja Blast, so
well, you're missing out. You're missing out on probably things that'll shorten your lifespan by 5 years.
Yes. Good point. I probably don't need that. All right. Well, let's play one final clip for the Penguins from a few years later. And at this point, the powers that be at KBL or whatever they're calling themselves at this point have decided, you know what? This whole Boys of Winter theme music is lame. This is the 90s, man. People want a theme song. After all, that's what Monday Night Football was doing, right? Monday Night Football had a theme song. So we could do our own hip theme song to get those coveted young viewers who have disposable income. So thinking of all of that, they go with this offering.
Clever.
Kick ice hockey. Mike Lane catchphrases. What could go possibly wrong?
A lot. They tried. It failed miserably, but they tried.
Yeah, it's not good.
I don't understand why the ice was cold, but the bands were hot. I don't know what bands being hot have to do with hockey, but hey, I'm just a hockey fan. Some kick ice hockey.
Kick ice hockey.
You know that guy when he signed up was like, "This is gonna be the theme song forever. I'm gonna be famous."
Yeah. They're gonna play this on the radio and stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's the era of the Penguins on KBL. As we said, the Pirates were also on KBL, and where the Pens had this Boys of Winter theme music, the Buccos also had this theme music, and I don't know the name of this one as it didn't quite have the staying power that the Penguins theme had. But I know Steve and I remember this one pretty fondly.
Pirates 88. Hardball.
Live from Dodger Stadium in Los Angeles, California. It's the windup of a West Coast road trip, final meeting of the year in Dodger Stadium between the Pirates and the Dodgers. It's a hot one in Los Angeles this afternoon. Beautiful sunny day, a bit warm as the Bucks and the Dodgers wind up their business. A very pleasant good afternoon. Welcome to Dodger Stadium. I'm John Sanders, along with Steve Blass.
I wondered if that was John Sanders. It sounded like him.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. 80 degrees in Chavez Ravine in the summer. Boy, I guess that doesn't happen too much anymore. Yeah, that's impressive. I remember that. It was like, "Let's go Bucks." I don't know if they added the words lately, but I like the little baseball coming out of the cannon there in that promo, shooting at the Dodgers. Dodge that, you Dodger.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, Steve, because you had mentioned that once before. You said that there were like words at the beginning of it, and I don't remember that. I wonder if that was before this.
It was like, "Let's go Bucks." It was like, "Da da da da, let's go Bucks." It was like more at the end, like where they would just kind of just fill in. They wouldn't really. I mean, there wasn't any other words except for "Let's go Bucks" and shooting baseballs at the Los Angeles Dodgers, who, you know, just by being the Dodgers, definitely deserved a baseball fired at them at high velocity.
Yeah, that was again, what you can't see here in the podcast. There's like a pirate looking through like a telescope thing, and he's firing a cannonball. Spyglass, yes, thank you. I could not think of
with
the
his
word.
one non-patched eye.
Right. Yeah, with the parrot on his shoulder, no doubt. And then he fires a cannonball at the Dodgers to make them pay for, being the Dodgers. So
take that, Steve Garvey. I don't know who was a Dodger in 1988. Probably.
I think. Well, 1988 would have been like Oral Hershiser and Kirk Gibson, and the year that they won the World Series. So, yeah, you're not even in the same ballpark, Steve, as the 1988 Dodgers. But good try.
Steve Garvey was like what, 1984, 83?
Yeah, probably a few years before.
Yeah,
not too far off. So, hockey and baseball are great, but one of the best sporting events in the world, in my opinion, is the NCAA tournament. Here's an old school March Madness opening involving the University of Pittsburgh.
to NCAA basketball action. We're in the Midwest region for the second round battle between the Vanderbilt Commodores and the Pitt Panthers as we welcome you to the Devaney Sports Center in Lincoln.
Why that game? Why? For the all of Jamie Dixon, why would you? And Charles Smith and Billy Gein. That was the Billy Gein game, wasn't it?
I believe so. Yeah. Yeah. Pitt loses that game in overtime.
Heartbreaking. Yeah. I think the guy Billy Gein shoots like a half court shot at like the buzzer to send it to overtime or something.
Okay. Yeah. So, but yeah, I like the opening. I like the Pitt band there. What that opening always makes me think of, Steve, is, and I don't know if you remember this, but they used to let us watch these games in school.
No. I know we went to the same school, but you must have been a different class than I was. I certainly wasn't watching any basketball.
In the library of our school, they would let us, if it was like
you sneak off.
No. It was like the
that had to be Mr. Collins that let you do that.
I don't remember who the teacher was, but I remember watching multiple years games in the library that were like a Thursday afternoon or Friday afternoon.
I was never invited. You ditched me. It's not.
That's entirely possible. Don't tell Steve. We're gonna go watch the game.
Go endure like Mr. Bishop in chemistry or something.
That's entirely possible.
Where is Tim and Mark? I don't know, Mr. Bishop. They said they were coming. Little did I know that's what you were doing.
Yeah, apparently so. Apparently so. I'm surprised. Okay. It happened. I promise it did.
I'm sure it did because, with my luck and the way things went for me in high school, there's no way I was ever allowed anywhere near this. The most I ever got out of class is when me and Tim Kelly, because his father was the principal, he would just hey, Dad, can we go wash the school vans or something? And we'd go just hang out in the garage of the high school.
So maybe you were doing that while the rest of us were watching basketball.
Yeah, that sounds like way more exciting. Yeah, I doubt it, but sure.
Well, that's college basketball. Let's talk about college football, and let's go back to our old friends at the Columbia Broadcasting System. CBS has college football theme music that has become kind of iconic, and there was actually a big controversy a few years ago because for years CBS had televised the SEC. And when CBS purchased the rights to the Big Ten and started using the theme music on Big Ten games, a lot of SEC fans on social media were up in arms because they were like, no, that's the SEC theme.
No, it's the CBS theme. Why are SEC fans so, how can I say this politely, dumb?
Well, to your point, what I think those fans may not have realized is that CBS actually had been using that theme music for years, actually long before they were doing SEC games, as we will hear in this Pitt-Syracuse game intro from 1987. And as we play this clip, here's a fun game you can play along with at home. Count the number of Halloween references that Brent Musburger makes.
The most familiar mask on the Pitt Panthers belongs to Craig Ironhead Hayward. He is 6 feet, 280 pounds, a bruising running back who gives the term big man on campus new meaning. With a killer defense, the Panthers hope to be the Black Cats in SU's path. And Coach Mike Gottfried knows a win today can propel them toward a bowl. It's a bewitching matchup for a Halloween Saturday. Syracuse versus Pitt, here on CBS Sports.
Wait a minute. Missouri and Oklahoma isn't playing? Because, that's the SEC music, and those are two SEC schools, right?
Traditional SEC schools, too.
Yes. What about, Texas and Vanderbilt?
Yeah. And Brent Musburger, man, Black Cats, masks, what else? Bewitching matchups.
At least Ironhead. Ironhead looked pretty cool. It was at Pitt Stadium, so they gave us a 50-50 chance of at least beating Syracuse. Because if it was in the Dome, we definitely lost that one.
That's true. So that's the CBS intro to a Pitt game in 1987. Let's fast forward to the year 2022, and you will hear that same timeless theme music here 35 years later.
And with that, we welcome you to Sun City, El Paso, Texas, the 89th edition of the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl. And the sun is out. Our matchup, the Panthers of Pittsburgh and the Bruins of UCLA. And here come the Pitt Panthers from the ACC.
Yeah, at least that's like the better Sun Bowl. I thought you were gonna play the 3-0 Sun Bowl.
No.
Intro.
Like I said, 2022. This was pretty recent. This was the game where they beat that guy that plays for the Browns now, DTR or DRT.
Darius Thompson, Rob.
Yeah.
I still think he's going to be a good quarterback, but
I can't stand him. I was so happy that we beat him.
He has his biggest problem is worked out. That guy's got the talent to be an NFL quarterback, and I'll stand by that. But
I think his biggest problem is his face is very punchable.
Well,
anyway.
I mean, who talks trash like on a Pitt defensive back for no reason? And
that guy.
And then gets hurt, kind of but then doesn't do anything to come back and help his team when they're in trouble. He's got a lot of issues. Oh well. But what a perfect fit for the Browns, huh?
Yep, that's for sure. All right, I wanted to end this episode with this intro from Game 5 of the 2016 Stanley Cup Finals. And this intro that you're about to hear, first of all, it's very old school because, like I said, by this point, you didn't see these kind of dramatic preludes anymore. But I also felt like this one really transcended the team that was playing. And remember, this was the game where the city had an opportunity to see a championship won on Pittsburgh soil for the first time since 1960.
This is insane. Yeah, this was an insane environment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish they would have won. I wish they would have won this game. They would have had to shut the city down. The city just would have shut itself down. Nobody would have done anything.
It was almost shut down before the game even started. It really was.
People just would have partied all night if they would have pulled this off.
Yeah. Well, I was on the north side that day. People were partying all day. I mean, it was just I've just never been in like you said, the environment was unique. I've never experienced something like that. And like Steve said, even though it didn't happen that night, I just felt like this intro from Doc Emmerich really captures and kind of preserves that moment.
Time is our most valuable commodity. And here in Pittsburgh, the hope is that this time will provide a moment that will last a lifetime.
Your captain, number 87, Sydney.
A chance at history often brings reflection on all that has come before.
Getting paid to do something you love to do, I mean, can't even imagine how amazing that would be.
This city worships its sports heroes.
What a burst of speed by Mario Lemieux. Oh, you'd have to be here to believe it.
The fans bleed the black and gold colors of their beloved teams and cherish their victories. Tonight, in the City of Champions, the Penguins can accomplish something that hasn't been seen here for 56 years. Will a fourth Stanley Cup be heard loud and clear at nights and in Pittsburgh? Only time will tell. Game 5 next.
That's a good intro. I wish they would have showed outside the arena a little bit because that was nuts.
I think they did. I think they did after they played the theme music and came on. I think they had a shot of outside.
There was 30,000 people outside the arena.
Yeah, it was
something insane.
Yes.
The arena only seats 17. So
yeah, it was a unique moment, and not only in Pittsburgh sports history, but in the history of this city. And it just did a good job, again, like I said, sort of capturing what the feeling was at that time. So I wanted to play that. So that's our episode on Pittsburgh sports TV intros. I hope you found that interesting. Steve, any final thoughts?
I don't know. I think I'm going to sneak off to the library to watch some great college basketball. I'm not telling you, Tim.
I've now created a bitter memory for Steve.
You could stay in chemistry class, Mr. Bishop.
Oh, man. All right, folks. Well, thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate everybody's support of our little show here. Please check us out on Facebook or Twitter. You can also email the show by going to our website. All those links are in the show description, and we will catch you next time.
No, you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't keep an Iron Man.